There once lived a king old and wise, who ruled a prosperous kingdom of golden fields and towering castles. He had 3 sons, each different in temperament and skill. The eldest, Roderick, was broad-shouldered, quick-tongued, and full of ambition. The second, Edmund, was clever, always scheming, his mind sharp as a blade. But the youngest, whom everyone called Dummling, was quiet, thoughtful, and often overlooked. His brothers called him a simpleton, for he did not speak unless he had something worth saying. The king, knowing his days were drawing to an end, faced a difficult choice. Who among his sons should inherit the throne? He feared choosing wrongly, for strength without wisdom could lead to ruin, and cleverness without kindness could bring only sorrow. And so he devised a test, one that would let fate decide. Gathering his sons in the great hall, he held up 3 delicate feathers, light as whispers. "Each of you shall follow where a feather falls," he declared. "Bring me the finest carpet you can find. He who brings me the most splendid shall be one step closer to the throne." With that he released the feathers into the air. The first floated eastward, caught in a breeze that carried it toward the rich merchant districts of the city. The second drifted west, where skilled craftsmen plied their trade. But the third feather, a foolish little thing, fluttered gently downward and landed right at Dumling's feet. Roderick smirked. "It seems even fate thinks you're meant to go nowhere." Edmund laughed. "Perhaps he'll weave a carpet from blades of grass." Without another word, the 2 brothers rushed off, each eager to find a carpet that would secure their claim to the kingdom. Dummling, left alone, sighed and looked down at the feather. As if answering his gaze, it stirred once more, lifting just slightly, then drifting toward a heavy stone in the ground. Curious, he knelt and pressed his hands against it. To his astonishment, the stone shifted, revealing a dark stairway that spiraled deep into the earth. Hesitation warred with curiosity, but curiosity won. Down he went step by step until the air grew damp and cool. At the bottom he found himself in a cavern unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls shimmered faintly as if kissed by moonlight, and in the center sat a great toad upon a throne of stone and moss. Around her, smaller toads bustled about, their eyes gleaming like polished gems. Dummling took a hesitant step forward. I need a carpet," he said, his voice echoing slightly. The great toad blinked her enormous eyes. Then, in a voice both ancient and knowing, she croaked, "A fine request. And one that shall be granted." She raised a webbed hand and one of the smaller toads scuttled off. Moments later it returned, carrying a carpet so exquisite that Dumling's breath caught. It shimmered as though woven from threads of starlight and twilight, soft as clouds, its colors shifting with every movement. This is beautiful," he whispered. The great toad inclined her head. "Then take it and may fortune favor you." Dummling bowed in gratitude and hurried back up the stairs, the carpet draped over his arms. When he returned to the castle, his brothers had already presented their carpets. Roderick had found one of deep crimson and gold, thick and costly. Edmund had purchased one from a skilled weaver, its patterns intricate, its silk fine. But when Dummling unfurled his, the hall fell silent. The fabric rippled like water, gleaming with an otherworldly beauty. The king's eyes widened. He traced the edge with his fingers and nodded slowly. "This," he said, "is the finest carpet." Roderick and Edmund exchanged furious glances. "It must be a trick," Roderick snapped. He could never have found such a thing himself. But the king only smiled. "A ruler must prove himself more than once. Your next task, bring me the most splendid ring." Once more the brothers followed their feathers. The eldest found a jeweler who presented him with a ring of rubies, fiery and bold. The second discovered a craftsman who fashioned a band of pure gold, etched with delicate designs. But Dummling, as before, followed his feather to the stone slab, descended into the cavern and made his request. The great toad studied him for a long moment, then lifted her hand. From the shadows, another toad scuttled forward, bearing a ring unlike any other. Its gem was not ruby, nor sapphire, nor emerald, but something deeper, something that shimmered with shifting colors, as though it held the essence of dawn and dusk within its depths. Dummling swallowed hard. "Thank you," he whispered. Back at the castle, the king examined the 3 rings. Though his elder sons had chosen well, neither could compare to the otherworldly beauty of Dumbling's. "The test continues," the king said. "Bring me the fairest maiden to be queen." The brothers set off once more, each searching for the most beautiful woman they could find. Roderick returned with a noblewoman, her beauty sharp and cold. Edmund brought the daughter of a wealthy merchant, her features flawless, her silks rich. But Dummling, he returned to the stone slab. This time when he spoke, the great toad smiled. "A queen you seek?" She clapped her webbed hands. A shimmer filled the air, and before him stood a woman of unearthly beauty, her golden hair cascading like rivers of sunlight, her eyes deep as the sky at dawn. She wore no jewels, no silks, and yet she radiated a presence so powerful that Dummling knew without question that she was the one. He offered his hand and she took it. When they arrived at the castle, the hall fell silent once more. The noblewoman and the merchant's daughter were beautiful, yes, but beside Dumbling's bride, they seemed no more than painted figures. The king studied her. Then he smiled. "The choice is clear." Roderick clenched his fists. Edmund's jaw tightened. "One last contest," they demanded. The king, amused, agreed. "Then let it be a test of skill. Whoever leaps through a golden ring set in the hall shall be king." The ring was placed high, shimmering in the torchlight. Roderick went first. He leapt with all his might but fell short, landing heavily. Edmund followed. Though nimble, he too failed. Then Dummling stepped forward. He did not run. He did not rush. He simply leapt, and as if the air itself lifted him, he passed cleanly through the ring, landing as lightly as a feather. Silence filled the hall. Then the king rose. "My kingdom belongs to Dummling," he said. And so the quiet son once thought foolish became king, not because of strength nor cunning, but because he had followed fate with an open heart. And his queen? Well, some whispered that she was no ordinary woman but a creature of magic sent to guide him. But that is another tale.